Dr. Jana Klauer is an expert in nutrition. She is back with us today with some advice on how to keep the weight off after you diet. Good to have you here.
Great to be here, Laura.
Well, let me first start this conversation. So many people, they go on a diet, they exercise, they lose the weight and put it back on. What's more difficult, losing the weight or keeping it off?
I think losing it is tough, but keeping it off is perhaps the most important and most neglected thing of all. Only about 1 in 6 people are able to lose 10% of their body weight and keep it off. And the National Database of Weight Control Registry actually has given us some key as to what those behaviors that people who keep the weight off, people who have lost more than 60 pounds and kept it off for a minimum of 5 years do.
Okay, so that's what you're saying is it's rare once you lose the weight to keep it off. Most people gain it back.
Yes.
Okay, so what is it that these people who are keeping the weight off, what are they doing?
I think we can all learn from them. So what they do is they exercise daily for about an hour. They do not skip meals. They eat breakfast. Breakfast is very important for them. They weigh themselves weekly, not daily, because there can be fluid shifts in the body on a daily basis. And they watch only 10 hours of television per week.
Now, I think it's interesting how you say they eat 3 meals a day. Many people, because they've lost weight, might be afraid to eat too much.
Exactly, and that's where they make a mistake.
That's a mistake.
Yes, because if you cut your calories, if you skip a meal, you're just going to overeat at the next meal. You want to keep your blood sugar nice and even. We know that it's blood sugar that's really the key to keeping weight off.
All right, so there's something called the glycemic index. Explain what that is, how it factors in.
Sure, that's very important. The glycemic index refers to the amount of raising of blood sugar that a particular food has. So how much a particular food would raise your blood sugar. Foods that are high on the glycemic index are things like cookies and candies and pasta and bread and potato, white potato. Okay. Lower glycemic foods are fruits and vegetables and whole grains.
So it sounds almost like things that would cause your blood sugar to spike in a diabetic would also cause a regular healthy person without diabetes, their glycemic index to go up. Is there a tie-in here?
Exactly, exactly. There certainly is.
Okay.
And that's why many people develop diabetes, is because they focus their diets on those high glycemic foods rather than the low glycemic foods.
Now, people have sworn by something called the Atkins diet, which really pretty much cuts out all the carbs, from what I understand, and focuses on protein. Good or bad thing?
Yes. Well, I think to lose weight, the Atkins diet can be very helpful for people. It's not the diet that I recommend. I think any diet that eliminates a category of food, such as carbohydrates. You know, carbohydrates are good for you, and it's actually the broadest category of food, but we want to focus on the low glycemic carbohydrates.
I mean, really, it's kind of a whole rethinking of how you eat, because you can do a quick fix diet, you can lose the weight, but realistically, you know, you're gonna have a cookie, you're gonna have some pasta. So how do you help kind of change your way of thinking when it comes to diet, exercise, eating, and is it more a lifestyle change?
Well, that's a great question. There was a recent study that looked at people who had lost weight, 15% of their body weight, and they wanted to see, the study wanted to see, could diet help them to maintain that weight loss? So it wasn't a weight loss study, it was a weight maintenance study. They looked at 3 different diets: a low carbohydrate diet, a low glycemic diet, and a low fat diet, such as the American Heart Association diet. The individuals were required to follow each diet for 1 month, and at the end of the 1 month period, they had their metabolic rates measured. Metabolic rate is very important. What they found was that the low fat diet, which had high carbohydrates, was the worst. It lowered the metabolic rate more than the other two.
And that's how you process your food.
Yes,
right, okay?
yes, yes. The low glycemic diet and the Atkins diet both kept blood sugar nice and even, and the metabolic rate of individuals when they were following that was higher. In fact, 300 calories higher. That's enormous per day.
All right, we've got final thoughts here. One thing you mentioned early on is TV watching is a factor. Turn off the TV.
Don't watch too much TV.
Except this show.
Exercise. It should all be Ebru. And exercise every day. Make it a priority. And watch your carbohydrates.
And breakfast. You don't want to skip breakfast.
Never
right?
skip a meal, and especially breakfast. Have a good breakfast and watch those starchy carbohydrates.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's what my mom always said, and
she was right.
She's right. Listen to your mother. Doctor, we thank you for being here and look forward to having you back.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.